are there from Rajasthan. I can see from Telangana, I can see from Gujarat and everywhere across the country. And we have 36 SHAs also joined with us, and many good organization has also joined. Dr. Shobna, you would love to, you all will love to learn from Dr. Shobna. It will be nice. So let me tell you about the NHA, because it is important when we talk about PMJY, it is important to talk about NHA as well. So basically, NHA holds these virtual trainings regularly, and we at NHA find that it's a powerful tool that allows education and professional development to transfer geographical barriers, making learning accessible to country's audience. And we have everybody with us. So as National Health Authority is apex body responsible for implementing India's national flagship health assurance insurance scheme called Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, and has been entrusted with the role of designing strategy, building technological infrastructure, and implementation of PMJY and National Digital Health Mission. So we have two components with us, and we do this National Digital Health Mission, we do with all the various ministries, state governments, and private sectors. Because NHA oversees the implementation of PMJY, while we also have state health agencies which are there with us, manage the scheme at the state level. And basically, we have the PMJY and ABDM virtual training programs aimed at enhancing the understanding and implementation of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana and Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission. So these two components are basically collaborating with each other. They create an ecosystem, and that our emphasis is that it reaches through and percolates through the peripheries. And this is the system which, I mean, apart from NHM, we have these packages which is going to help the society at large when they even go to the private or secondary and tertiary care for their well-beings. So these online trainings, if I say about it's about the healthcare professionals are there, administrators, stakeholders involved in the schemes, and the sessions basically cover the PMJY health insurance benefits and the ABDM digital health ecosystem. The participants here are also trained for registering beneficiaries, using digital platform, healthcare access, managing telemedicine consultation, and ensuring smooth service delivery. So the concern is that today, when we talk about these programs, when we talk about different issues, the aim is to have a basically ensure seamless coordination among the ministries departments. Like we have NHM, we have DGHS, we have NHA. So there is a coordination, and it is to improve the quality services, which is very important. And you can find these services even in the portals. And like today's webinar is important for us, and we are going to take a good learning from Dr. Shobna about the child basically RPSK programs also, and what exactly we are doing, new strategies and all for the primary, tertiary, and the secondary levels. So that is the main aim. So when we talk about today's program, it is basically Balandis Pati Kira Cha Jivan Masti Yah. The joy of life and play exists in the heart of the child. This celebrates the purity and vitality and joy that children brings into the world through their playful nature. Neonatal health, we all understand, is a critical component of public health, and it directly influences the survival and well-being of newborns. In the first week of life, neonates are highly vulnerable to infections, premature birth, congenital disorders. Quality healthcare at birth, early intervention, and skilled birth attendants are key to reducing neonatal mortality rates. It is essential to reflect on the critical importance of protecting and nurturing our most vulnerable population, that is newborns. Neonatal health directly impacts the future of society, shaping not only the individual's life, but the collective well-being of the nation as well. Reducing neonatal mortality, preventing infections, ensuring access to skilled births and attendants, promoting maternal health are essential steps towards achieving this goal. Each of these measures not only save lives, but also empowers families, particularly mothers, by providing them with the resource and education needed to care for their children. However, the challenges are still many. Globally, millions of people, newborns, still die from preventable causes. In many regions, especially in low-income, remote areas, I was in tribal affairs as advisor health, and I have faced, this is one of the key issues in tribal areas. And if you see the infant mortality rate, it is much higher than the normal population, which is so excess in healthcare is limited and the necessary resources of proper neonatal care are insufficient somewhere. Not everywhere, but we have come very far. But still addressing the issues, disparities requires collaboration, innovation, and continued investment in both healthcare infrastructure and education as well. But the progress we have made thus far give us far good hopes for improved prenatal care to rise of neonatal intensive care unit and advancement in vaccine coverage. There is no shortage of success stories as well. If we see the success stories, we see the past, how we have improved, how Indradhanush came, how the immunization has given a good boost to our neonatal care is important. And our work is so from above, but every step we take bring us closer to the world that where no born has to suffer due to the preventable causes. And I should talk about the genetic disease because Dr. Shobna is also trained for that also. So we have been, I have been dealing with, when I was at NHM, I was been dealing with blood cell and it talked about thalassemia, sickle and hemophilia, that is problems which children face, that's the genetic disease. And today, because we are here and we are coming to know what are the upcoming strategies for newborn at the primary and secondary level, it is important that we understand that how these genetic disorders, birth defects impacts children and what are the facilities that the government is providing them at the primary, secondary and tertiary care. So important is, and let me introduce Dr. Shobna as well, because I was reading her CV and it was interesting that she has been pediatrician by training for last 18 years and experience in clinical newborn and pediatric care in tertiary care government hospital. She was a national program manager of child health and RBSK program in India, provides support and supervision for implementing various programs to states and duties. And under her leadership, Child Health Division has released several guidelines for facility-based newborn care training module, facility-based integrated management of neonatal and childhood illness, which are very important. And one more important is this Pediatric Center of Excellence. That is really interesting, and we will learn about it. She has a keen interest in implementing early childhood development and related interventions for newborn and pediatric age, working on development of modules for pediatric critical care, newer intervention for improved newborn care, and revision of home birth care program for children. Now, the birth defect surveillance, and she has a keen interest in birth defect surveillance and management. This is very important as a part of RBSK. Observe Birth Defects Awareness Month, which hardly people know about it. This is something very interesting to tell everybody because hardly people know about it, the Birth Defects Awareness Month. And this when I read this, I was so impressed. This is something important because we need it. And she's a member of the WHO Technical Working Group on burden of birth defects. She's the national faculty of various trainings like facility-based newborn care, newborn acquisition programs, medical certification of cause of death, ICD-10 coding, etc. She has presented papers, participated in panel in various national and international conferences, and authors of many papers, chapters, and unit published in national and international journals. She has involved in many research projects as co-PI for newborn birth defects, again important, and still childbirth surveillance. See, I am very privileged. I mean, when we talk about all these things, it's important that we learn. Gradually, learning is important. And I will request Dr. Shobna Gupta, who is the Deputy Commissioner in charge of CH and RBSK, to now continue with the further.
Thank you so much, Vinita ma'am. Over to you, ma'am. Over to you, Shobna ma'am.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Vinita, for such a warm welcome and giving me this opportunity to interact with your SHA teams as well as officers and medical officers from across the country, especially with the newborn being so close to my heart and the newborn week going on. Definitely, it is a wonderful opportunity to interact with the teams and tell them what, as the Government of India, Child Health Division is doing and what is occurring across the country, because many a times, in spite of being a part of the government, we do not get to see what is actually happening. We do not know our parallel programs ongoing. So it is very important now that we all actually and stop working in silos and converge and know each other so that the good collaboration actually can happen at the ground level. So starting with I would be actually highlighting you about the basic programs which are there in our newborn and child health, and then emphasizing more that at different levels, starting from community till facility, what all initiatives and interventions are available for the newborn care, as well as what newborn care packages, like the availability of PMJY, so that more and more, because till now, even though, as you can see that in PMJY, the uptake of the PMJY packages for the newborn can be, increased by this cross learning that this exists, and the people and the community also can know that this possibility is also there. And we can have more and more hospitals on board, so as to avoid the congestion which happens in the medical colleges. So I'll be sharing my PPT now. Is my visual on?
We can hear you, and the PPT is visual. Please
Okay.
initiate.
Right. So, as I told you that how we will be starting, see, the journey of NHM dates back to almost, now it is almost, 2 decades when the initiative started in NHM in 2006 and 2011. In the last 10-15 years, lot of work has been done. So the basic purpose of this of child health program was to have the comprehensive initiative which aims to improve the health and well-being, and the main objectives, definitely, as you know, reducing child mortality. They are one of our sustainable developmental goals, as well as in our national health policy, that was the goal, to reduce the under 5 mortality and the neonatal mortality rate. Not only mortality, we talk now about the promotion of the child survival, which, as elaborated by Dr. Vinita, also our Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram, our community-based programs, they talk not only about survival, but also healthy survival, so that the child does not have any delays or development and they're picked up early. So the child development goes along with that, and to empower our communities, because families and parents and mothers are the main stakeholders, primary stakeholders, which are getting all these benefits. So empower them with the decision making, empower them with the better informed, make them informed of the available services which they can avail of. So just to brief that what is the status of child mortality in India. If you can see, we have currently the latest status of the SRS survey is that we have 20 neonatal deaths per 1,000 live birth. And if I talk about the under 5, this is 32 per 1,000 live birth. As per the Sustainable Development Goals, we aspire to reach less than 12 by 2030. So we, in a period of 10 years, if I say from 20 to 12, and right now we are at 24, and we must be around at 17 if whenever the status will come. So we aspire to reach the national target, the SDG target. Similarly, in under 5, the less than 20 is our goal. And if you can see the journey that how we have progressed in the NMR, the total births happening in India approximately per year are 2.6 crores, out of which approximately 20% they are being low birth weight and preterm babies. However, if you see the 75% of the babies, out of the total deaths in the newborn which are happening, 75% have death within the first week of life, within the first 7 days of life. So if the 75% are dying, so the total under 5 mortality, the 2/3 mortality is contributed by the newborn alone. However, yes, as per the graph, if you can see, there is a decline in the neonatal mortality. You can see from, if in the last 2 decades, you can see from 37, we have reached 20. And in India being more ambitious, the SDG target are the global target. In the India, we have a India Newborn Action Plan, which was launched in 2014. And there we kept that we have to reach the single digit by 2030. So we are in fact 3 digit ahead our target of what global target is. So if this is the overall picture, if you can see, the national rate stands at 20. But as we see that there is a inequity. We also talked about the marginalized area, the tribal area. Similarly, there are hard to reach area, the states which are not being able to equalize. So definitely when we talk about the numbers, we also talk about equity, that every state should be below the national average. Every state should be able to achieve the SDG target. So these are the 6 states. If you can see, we have the Madhya Pradesh, Odisha, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Rajasthan, and Bihar. Their neonatal mortality rate is still above the national average. The main important thing is that we are targeting that if we are at 20, we should be able to reach the SDG goals with the current initiatives taking place and adding the quality. But if some states are left behind, even if we achieve the national target, our purpose will not be solved. So all the areas, all the districts, all the blocks have to be taken together so that the 2 main issues of equity, that everybody should have the equal access to services, and the quality of services, they are maintained. These are the causes of, if you say, why the newborns die actually. As I told you, around 20% are low birth weight, and prematurity and low birth weight is a major cause for newborn mortality. Here you can see almost 50% of the death actually which are happening, they are because of the prematurity and low birth weight. So it is a big chunk. That is why our interventions mainly focus on the low birth weight. After low birth weight, if we can see, we have the birth asphyxia and the birth trauma. So birth asphyxia generally happen because of the poor antenatal care. When a pregnant mother is not being taken care of, her antenatal visits are not adequate, she is anemic, during the birth time. That leads to birth asphyxia. Third is the infections, out of which neonatal sepsis we call neonatal pneumonia. These are the third prominent cause. And as we told, with the improving rates of neonatal mortality rate overall and better care of low birth weight and birth asphyxia, you can see that congenital anomaly is coming out to be as a 4th prominent cause leading to neonatal mortality. So birth defects is becoming the 4th common, and as and when the states which have actually achieved, like Kerala, Tamil Nadu is at 9. So the sum of these states, 6 states have already achieved single digit. So the states which are achieving lower neonatal mortality rate, they are able to cover deaths happening because of low birth weight and birth asphyxia because of better reproductive child health services. But birth defects are becoming more prominent in those states. So definitely it's a time that we need to focus on this entity also right from the birth. And then there are other causes which contribute to mortality. Coming to the status of child health intervention in India. Yeah. So these are the indicators which you can see in our National Family Health Survey. And this is the 1921 data, the NFHS 5 data. So as you can see, the institution delivery, if a nation-wise, if you can see, the institution deliveries is at 88.6%. Definitely we can see, and we have improved from, this is blue one is 4 and the orange one is 5. So there is an improvement from 40% to almost 90% in a gap of 5 years, 4 to 5 years. Because there is through NHM, a lot of funds have gone, a lot of JSK benefit, Janani Shishu Suraksha. So definitely the institutional deliveries have obtained. We are able to mobilize the mother to come to the hospital for delivery. Simultaneously, the skilled birth attendant at birth, because of the intensive trainings, they have also increased from 60% to 90%. However, the simple interventions which have still not shown the improvement which they should, is the early initiation of breastfeeding, which we all know that from years together, that we all know the breastfeeding has to be started as early as possible. So it is still at 40%. The postnatal visit to mothers within 48 hours, that has actually improved to 78%. But again, if you see the exclusive breastfeeding, so the simple intervention of breastfeeding that a mother is feeding till 6 months of life is at 63%. So hardly any improvement in a period of 4-5 years. Initiation of complementary feeding. Again, you can see the number is actually very less. So the simple thing of malnutrition, which we are still seeing, is because these interventions which are there, which needs to be stressed upon, which needs and behavioral change, they need to be strengthened. Full immunization, definitely 60% to 76% as per NFHS. And if you see HIMS, it is almost more than 90% now. So the various interventions which are happening under child health, you can see that we have a newborn care program, which is a facility-based newborn care where a newborn is provided the services in the hospital that comes under facility-based newborn care. Then we have a community-based program, which is called as home-based newborn and young child care, commonly called as HBNC and HBYC. We have also programs for the pediatric care because newborn covers till 1 month of age. That is a strengthening facility-based pediatric care. The SANS, that is for pneumonia, social action and awareness to neutralize pneumonia successfully. And for all of you, there is a SANS campaign is going on right now. It happens from 12th November till 28th February, which actually the purpose objective is the early identification, create awareness and early treatment of children who are diagnosed with symptoms of pneumonia. So that remains aligning with the high incidence of pneumonia in the winter months because of pollution, because of viral infection, because of bacterial infections. So this campaign runs. However, people healthcare need to be sensitized for pneumonia throughout the year. And mind you, pneumonia after newborn causes. Pneumonia is the second most common cause of mortality for children of in under 5 mortality. So it leads to almost 17% of mortality is happening because of pneumonia. Then the third most common cause is the diarrhea, which amounts to almost 6% of the death. So we have a Stop Diarrhea campaign, which happens in the months of monsoon. In the July and August, we had a 2 months campaign all across where we collaborated with different ministries, especially the Jal Jeevan, Rural Development, WCD, and Education, so that effective interventions can be done at the ground level, at the schools, Anganwadis, in the communities. Then there's a child death review. In the Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram, we have mainly 3 components where it is a life cycle approach which we follow from 0 to 18 years of age. So at birth, there is a newborn screening, comprehensive newborn screening, which happens at the delivery points, which is being done by our healthcare staff, the ANMs, the doctors, medical officers, which are taking the delivery where they screen the newborn head to bottom for any presence of birth defects. Then the screening happens at Anganwadi from 6 months to 6 years of age. There is a biannual screening at Anganwadi and an annual screening in the schools. And the children for the 4 Ds, which are the defects, developmental delay, deficiencies, and the diseases. The children which are identified with developmental delay, they are district early intervention centers, which are centers with multiple specialists present, like physiotherapist, dentist, psychologist, special educator, which provide the therapeutic intervention for the children who are identified with developmental delay. Then the quality initiative of our pediatric healthcare, which includes our newborn care units, our OPDs, wards, and the nutrition rehabilitation center, comes under the Muskan. So this was a brief which I have enlisted. However, in today's talk, being focused on the newborn care, I will be focusing more on the facility-based, home-based, and the newborn screening at the delivery point. Coming to the facility-based newborn care, as you can see, we have different levels of care. So when a newborn becomes sick, definitely they require hospitalization in the facilities. So if you can see, we have newborn care corners at all delivery points by the labor room. So these are called as NBCC, which are approximately more than 22,000 across the country. Here, the basic services, which I will be elaborating later on in the care, are being provided at which should be their routine care of every newborn is the right. These are provided at NBCC. If a child gets sick or the child is being delivered is a low birth weight, then there is a primary level care, which is the first referral unit present at the level of the community health center. There we have a structure called as newborn stabilization unit, also called as NBSU. There are approximately 2,700 NBSU across the country. In fact, more than that now, approximately 2,800, which provide services to low birth weight like 1,500 to 1,800, which require simply phototherapy and they are admitted for jaundice and stable low birth weight babies. If you go, if the baby requires specialized is more low birth weight and requires specialized services, we have a secondary level care being provided in our special newborn care units, also called as SNCs. They are present at the level of the district hospital and the medical colleges, for which actually we have more than 1,056 special newborn care units across the country, covering 95% of the districts. The children here are provided oxygen, non-invasive CPAP, so I'll be deliberating on the services being provided. However, this is the level which can be included even at the private, because these special newborn care units in some of the high burden, high focus states, they become overburdened because of the lot of referrals. So this is the level actually which we aspire that can be covered, that is there, the option is there in the PMJY, which needs to be more activated in the private setup as well, so that the congested units can be little decongested and that level of care can be provided in those hospitals through PMJY. Then we have a tertiary level care centers at the medical colleges, which provide like ventilatory care and a high care of level 4, which we call type 3 and type 4 care, which includes prolonged ventilation, specialized ventilation, blood exchange transfusions, and care for the very extreme premature babies. If you can see, so as I told you, this is a newborn care corner, which has to be there wherever delivery point is there, which consists of a warmer. There is a warmer, right? And there is a provision of oxygen. Is also, there has to be a provision of a resuscitation bag, the AMBU bag, which you commonly called. So resuscitation bag, essential medicines, which has to be there, like vitamin K, BCG. So they are all there at this. So there's a checklist which has to be there, and you can find this at every labor room and the delivery OT. This is the newborn stabilization unit. Here you can see it consists of approximately 4 beds are there. The care is provided by the medical officer present at the CHC and the ANMs. They are being trained in the NBSU. There is a package which they are being trained. However, since they are at the first referral unit, there is a pediatrician which is being present. At least one pediatrician has to be there at NFRU to take care of the calls and give the specialized advice whenever required. This is the special newborn care units where we have 12 beds or 18 beds. In some of the heavy units, they have expanded to 20 beds also. So these are the warmer which are kept, and level 2 services are there. There is a nurses, staff nurses are present, which are being trained in the facility-based newborn care. There is a pediatrician and medical officers round the clock who are being trained in facility-based newborn care, and 2 or 3 pediatricians are there. We also have a very robust system of data collection from this facility-based newborn care, both from SNCUs and the NBSUs. And this captures the line listing of each and every newborn who is being admitted in these units. And just to give you the brief, that annually more than 14 lakh 6 and small newborns, out of which almost predominant 50% are low birth weight, they receive treatment in this special newborn care units, and we get the whole details in our database. Coming to the community-based program, as you have seen, we have a facility. So if a newborn is being born, after born, generally if the baby is fine, that is being discharged after 40 days. Or if the baby is being admitted in the special newborn care units, baby was low birth weight or there was some problem, baby did not cry. After admission, whenever the baby gets discharged, baby needs to get followed up. So what is home-based newborn care? The community-based newborn care practices, which occur through our frontline peripheral health workers, which are called as ASHAs, which do the early identification of illness and they refer. The main duties of actually ASHA is the counseling and the facilitation. They counsel the caregivers for exclusive breastfeeding, how to take care of the skin, cord, or the eye infection, which are very basic things in the initial after discharge from the hospital in the first week of life. They weigh the baby afterwards when the baby reaches home to look that there is no excessive weight loss and it is as per the norms. Check the temperature or for any sign of danger signs, if at all present. And if they are present, they refer the baby. The visit they follow in the home visits, if it is an institutional delivery, the 6 home visits are being performed by ASHA, which has to be completed within 42 days of birth. These happens at third day, 0 day is generally taken as a 0 day in case of home delivery, almost less than 10%. So it is third day, 7th, 14th, 21, 28, and 42 days. Extension of that, the HBNC program was launched in 2011. However, the need was felt that after 1 year of age, the children needs to be followed up to see for their feeding, whether they have been started in the complementary feeding appropriately, to look for their milestones, that the child started like walking at a normal time, they started sitting at a normal time. So there is no delay in the developmental milestones. Third thing important was to growth, whether the child is having the appropriate weight gain, appropriate height gain. So the growth monitoring becomes very important, and definitely the other important thing is to look for the immunization status. So to look for these, the program was extended as an HBYC, that is a home-based care of young children. This was launched by Honorable Prime Minister in 2018, and the community-based childcare practices through an ASHA only was an extension. And as I told you, that growth as well as was taken as a very important component in this. Here the ASHA performs the visit. So after till 6 weeks, the visits are performed by the ASHA in the HBNC program, and in the HBYC, the ASHA performs a visit at 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 15 months. So an extra 5 visits were added, for which the incentive is provided by the NHM. So apart from the operational guidelines of HBNC, HBYC, there is a handbook for ASHA. There is a job aid where pictures are there that she's supposed to do, how she's going to interact. And there is a mother-child protection card, which is a very important card, which is a MCP card. And there is a revised card, which was launched in 2018. And who all are working in PHC, Anganwadis, they can see that whenever the child comes for immunization also, whenever the child is discharged from the hospital, they are being given this MCP card by the ANM. This card being very important has all the relevant information starting from the antenatal visit till the immunization status. So it captures the information of the important events of the mother antenatal period, the birth details of the baby, followed by the details when the ASHA visits them. And this card becomes very important because even when your survey people comes, the NFHS survey happens, this is a document which is kept with the mother. So she refers to actually this card and tell the information about the weight of the baby, what all has happened throughout the growth. There is a growth chart in this card. So you can see it at any of the health facility they are being available. And this is a very important information tool for the mother as well. That what are the developmental milestones she needs to achieve. As I told that 50% are the low birth weight and they are contributing to the major mortality. So definitely the focus is on the vulnerable group. For the essentially discharged babies, we take the day of discharge as a day 1 for the basis of the community visit. And the first home visit has to happen within 24 hours of discharge. Remaining visits happen as per the schedule. This we have covered, that follow-up visits happen at a 3rd, 6th, 9th, and 12th month. And once they are completed, we complete the HBYC visits for the babies who are discharged from the hospital. Also, the same schedule needs to be followed up. Now, coming to the newborn screening, there was in the RBSK program, there is a provision of screening of the 9 birth defects initially, which is there in the chart. However, it was expanded to cover almost 109 birth defects in the year, which are the common birth defects which can happen in the year 2016. If you can see the visible birth defects screening occur, so the defects are of many kinds. One is the visible. That means once you see the baby, you can see that, okay, this is a birth defect, like neural tube defects, or you also call as spina bifida. There is a defect in the back of the baby. And if you examine the baby right at birth, you can see that there is a defect due to which the baby can have the weakness of the lower limbs. The baby cannot move. The paralysis of the lower limbs can happen. Along with that, if you can see the visible birth defects, the common one is the cleft lip or cleft palate, which is also called as talud. where there is a defect in the or the hard palate, so that there is problem in the swallowing and the baby cannot take milk right at birth. Then the other most common is, you can see, the club foot, where the feet are twisted outward. So there will be difficulty in the walking, and the treatment has to begin right from birth, which can happen with the non-surgical. If not taken care of and left, then it can happen that the baby requires surgery later on. Then there is can be hearing defect. There could be congenital blindness or the cataract. So many defects are visible right at birth. So this visible screening happens, and even for the congenital heart disease, although it is not visible, but still by the use of pulse oximetry, which is being available, you can see that there is a problem in the saturation of the baby. Baby is not maintaining more than 95%, and you can see that there might be a problem in the heart. So the major defects and the important, which can affect the quality of life, can be detected right at birth. So initially we started with the visible birth defects. So visible screening happens at the delivery point, and you can see that in our delivery points, there is a poster which is being displayed in the labor room about these births and whom to contact. We have mobile health teams, which comes in the coordination. So whenever a health personnel, they check the baby and they find any birth defect, the entries has to be made in the register, which is a delivery room register, and then they contact the mobile health team, which number is being displayed in the delivery room, so that those babies, they can be taken up for surgery, depending on whether it is emergency surgery is required or after a week. So the child gets registered. So there are guidelines for this assessment and training program. Functional birth defects, again, this is being screening happening in all these states. So what is functional? As I told you, congenital heart disease, deafness, cataract comes in the functional, because they affect the child, the quality of the life significantly. And the screening can happen with the use of the low-cost, non-invasive instrument like pulse oximetry, which is present in the labor rooms and the SNCUs, and the OAE, acoustic emission, which is an instrument or a BERA. So you can, if you suspect that there is a hearing deficit, you can refer the child to the near DEIC, or you can contact the mobile health team, because it is very important that you diagnose early. If you diagnose early or decision is early identification leads to better outcomes. The more that it is delayed, even after treatment, the child is not fully cured, and it leads to disability, which we do not want our child to have. There are metabolic disorders, like we have seen, metabolic are the rare diseases which are there and being more common. So we talk about metabolic screening is happening in those states which have actually better outcomes for the low birth weight. So definitely these diseases become significant proportion in those states, like for the congenital hypothyroidism, congenital hypoplasia, G6PD deficiency, thalassemia, sickle cell. As you know, that sickle cell again happening under the sickle cell elimination program in the 17 states of India, where there is a high risk of sickle cell. There also, the screening for the sickle cell at birth is being done by the mobile health team, which collaborate with the teams of the sickle cell elimination program. So in of Kerala, Maharashtra, Gujarat, even Assam and Odisha, although they have the high neonatal mortality rate, but still they are coming up with metabolic screening in some of their districts. Goa and Delhi, it is happening. Chromosomal anomaly, as she was saying, the genetic disorders, they are being right now limited to our tertiary care centers like the medical colleges, especially the Down syndrome and other genetic disorders, because yes, the equipment is quite expensive to diagnose the number of cases right now, but they are also being covered under rare cell disease, which is a separate division in DGHS, and many of the important ones are being covered there. So that provision of finances has been made there, through which they can be treated. I would like to say that for the newborn screening, as I told, we have in the RBSK, there is a provision of MOU. That is, we have for the surgery part, especially because the load becomes very high, which is not being there to be catered by the public health hospital. So that provision was made. RBSK program actually come in 2014. So that provision of public-private partnership is already there under RBSK. And we tell the states, if you are not able to take through RBSK or the funds become less, you can also go through PMJY, because many of the defects are also being covered in PMJY. However, we soon would be, we can contact the NHA that how to include more packages. The only difference in RBSK that RBSK does not differentiate any child. So the treatment is given to every child who is being covered under RBSK. So there is no discretion on the economic background, but states are availing both the packages to get the children treated, so that all the children who are being identified, they get the appropriate treatment. So I would request all of you from these states to please see if a child is being referred to you for defects and other services, the appropriate facilities and this can be provided in the respective PMJY empaneled hospitals for smooth treatment of the child. Now I'll be touching upon the importance of healthcare professionals, how they play a part in newborn care at different levels. So again, as I told you, that there has to be a newborn care corner at every delivery point. So this is the primary level of care, which has to be there wherever there is a delivery. So it is a minimum care which you expect. As it has a very important role that we have to ensure that a fetus ensure a safe transition from the mother's womb to the new world when it becomes a newborn. And that is the most important critical time where most of the newborn deaths happen, or there is a high incidence of stillbirth. As you know, stillbirth, when a baby is born, there is no signs of life. So this transition period is really important, that the mother reaches in time, the baby delivers safely, so that the baby who is born is also safe. So it ensures both safety for the mother and the baby, and it actually contributes a lot in improving the maternal mortality ratio as well as the newborn mortality rates. So we have to ensure the safe delivery points, and a lot of effort has been done under NHM to have that environment, and Lakshya certification of them is one of those initiative. So if I start from the antenatal period, if a mother has a premature labor pains, there is a preterm labor pain, then we have the administration of the antenatal corticosteroid. Mother is being given antenatal corticosteroid so that it helps in the maturation of the lungs of the newborn. So the availability of those corticosteroids at every level of facility is important if a mother is coming with a premature labor pains. So that ideally these corticosteroids have to be given whenever the mother receives, and they delay the labor by 24 hours, so that the effect of these can happen and it prevents the baby from the complications of prematurity. Like baby's lungs are, when the baby is in the mother womb, that is a fetus, his lungs are immature. They mature after 34 weeks of gestation, which is approximately, I would say, 8 months of pregnancy. If a mother has a premature labor pains, like we see in the teenage pregnancy, multiple twinning gestation, now IVF coming, so many mothers can have this preterm labor pain. If we give corticosteroid, it decreases the complication of lung prematurity as well as the gut prematurity, and the eye protection from the early prematurity of retinopathy of prematurity. So it protects the lungs, the gut of the baby as well as the eyes. So it has a good role to play. So that availability needs to be ensured. Once a mother is in labor, we have to ensure for a baby that the baby delivers on the mother abdomen. So delivery happens on the mother abdomen, and there is a delayed cord clamping, which we say 1 to 3 minutes. Why? How does that help? So immediate delivery on the mother's abdomen is actually, we call as immediate skin to skin contact, helps the baby to become warm. We dry the baby on the mother's abdomen itself, and delayed cord clamping helps the baby to not have anemia when the baby reaches 4 to 6 months of life. In the delayed cord clamping, there is an extra amount of blood goes from the cord to the baby, and actually it prevents anemia when the baby becomes 4 to 6 months of age. So simple intervention giving you a lot of advantage later on. Then we have, once the baby is born, you have to monitor for the baby's respiration, temperature, immediate skin to skin, as I told you. Then create an environment for initial and exclusive breastfeeding. So as we know, in Lakshay, also we talk having a respectful maternity care, having a attendant along with the mother available to support her in the exclusive breastfeeding right at birth. Our HR in the labor room, like our staff nurses, ANMs, even the midwives, they have to be trained that if required for the simple resuscitation, if required for the baby, suppose does not cry at birth, how to give bag and mask. And after stabilization, the referral to be required. Once the baby is being born, you have initiated the exclusive breastfeeding. Now you can do the head to assessment of the baby, simple screening, find checklist where you look for the respiration, heart rate, major birth defects are being ruled out, and the baby is being given injection vitamin K and the immunization first dose, hepatitis B. As well as it is very important, which we often forget, that it is very important to provide the emotional and psychological support to the mother during that time. Whether it is a public or a private hospital, every mother has a right for a respectful maternity care. That behavioral change in our HR is required at every level, that support is being given. So serving as the backbone of our healthcare system, as we know, primary care, especially in the rural and the underserved area, where there is a lot of time takes for the transport to go from one place to another, the role of primary care becomes utmost important. So whether it is antenatal care, where the counseling needs to be given about the importance of to have at least 4 antenatal visits with the first registration of pregnancy in the first trimester, that is often missed. To explain the danger signs during pregnancy, especially the Pradhan Mantri Surakshit Matritva Ashwasan to be given, that facilities being there in the facility where she can be taken care of. Then promote the institutional birth, even in the marginalized area. Because if you see that 9 to 10% is actually those underserved area and hard to reach area where still efforts are going on to promote the institutional birth. Because once institutional birth happens, you automatically look for the skilled birth attendant, the healthy delivery, and we have to ask for the zero separation of the mother and the baby. See, if you have seen we talk about One Health, animals, plants, they are all one. If you see the animal, we cannot change the physiological process. And physiologically, the baby has to be with the mother. Why? Who are we to separate? So once the baby is being born, taken care of, the baby should be initiated on exclusive breastfeeding and promote zero separation. Let the baby with the mother. So there are we do not keep the baby away from the mother. Breastfeeding support, encourage for early initiation and exclusive breastfeeding. However, somehow if you can see because of the media, or we see that as a culture, we are seeing even in the rural areas, the concept of bottle feed, concept of formula somehow is becoming very fancy. So we have to initiate counseling at every level, at every effort should be made that this is not being done, and we promote the early initiation and exclusive breastfeeding and the routine care. Simple birth weight, take the length, head circumference. So at least that first examination at birth is very important. Ensure the vaccination, that birth dose vaccination, as you can see, we are struggling that every baby should have a birth dose vaccination. To provide counseling to have this, identify the common illness, so that if that is being identified, we can manage and set newborns to our newborn stabilizer unit in SNCU. So look for the jaundice, simple respiratory distress, and if the baby has any signs of infection. The community outreach sessions of village health and sanitation days, community health camps which focus on maternal newborn health, and the role of our self-help groups, our community leaders, they become really important. So that convergence need to be there at the community of which self-help groups, NGOs working there, community-based organization about the newborn health, the kangaroo mother care, and the promotion of breastfeeding. And definitely very, very important for high-risk newborns, once they are getting discharged, they have to have the follow-up. So kindly keep that provision of that follow-up even in the packages. Like we have for the surgical packages, we keep it for 6 weeks that you have to follow visits are included. Similarly, for the newborn also, that package follow-up provision should be there Similarly, for our surgeries in the RBSK, we get request from the states that after the baby is being, after the child is being operated, support a cochlear implant is being given and other things are given. We need to follow up. Congenital heart disease, a follow-up echo is required. So those kind of things can be done to improve our packages so that that follow-up is being provided. Coming at the secondary and the tertiary level, we need to have the admission and clinical protocols. So we have given from the national, we have at the state level, but to ensure that those availability are there for the newborn assessment and to monitor the vital signs. Very important quality parameter is the use of oxygen. Yes, if a baby requires, oxygen has to be used, but simultaneously, oxygen is a drug. If given to a newborn which does not require it, it can harm rather than benefit. It can lead to blindness. So what we need to see that if the baby has a respiratory problem and we are giving oxygen, there is a use of pulse oximeter and the range is 90 to 95%. Feeding policy, it has to be a breastfeeding initiative, which we see as, so as much as possible breastfeeding. If breastfeeding not possible, express human milk. And we have in the, we are working on the process of having more and more CLMC, that is lactation management units, comprehensive lactation management unit, our SNC needs to be used. Rational use of antibiotics, very important. Not to use inappropriate overusage of IV fluids, not to be done. And very, very important is to manage the infection management protocols, aseptic protocols. If we have the aseptic protocols, we can actually avoid and prevent the use of antibiotics. So it is totally interrelated. At secondary and tertiary, definitely we are talking about intact survival. We are now talking about having a childhood development, developmentally supportive care. That is, the baby should be neurologically intact. And to promote that, we call a family participatory care. So mothers, fathers, or the family members, they are involved in the care of the baby. They tuck the baby, they change the diaper, they provide KMC, they are involved in the feeding. So they provide, even in the newborn care units, the mothers are being allowed to give that. So they are being tucked in. Then again, we are talking about the kangaroo mother care, where we provide even to the now sick and small newborns. Initially, it was only for the stable babies. Now the evidence had comes that in the kangaroo mother care, the mother keeps the baby on her skin. So skin-to-skin contact is provided for more than 8 hours to even the sick and the small babies. Then the other important things comes the record keeping, mentoring of the junior staff, quality improvement initiatives. As we know, all the facilities have to be Muskaan and NCOR certified. Follow-up planning is very important for newborns. The counseling needs to be given, and counseling about what are the danger signs, how to take care of the temperature, feeding. So simple things, but have a very important bearing, because newborns when become sick, they become hypothermic. They do not show high temperature, they become less cold. So hypothermia, exclusive breastfeeding, and the warning signs when to come back to the hospital. Just to touch upon the newer interventions and the training packages for newborn care, which we are coming. This concept, some of you might be knowing, is about the mother newborn care unit. Basically, SNCU, you all know, is a secondary level care. Now we have just talked about it. Mother newborn care unit is basically a special, the services provided are of a special newborn care unit. So it is a specialized area which is designed to provide comprehensive care as a dyad to mother and the sick newborns. As I just told you, physiologically, what God has made us, not to separate the mother and the baby. Similarly, we talk about zero separation. So here we are taking care of the newborn who is small, sick, require oxygen, probably sometimes IV fluid also, but the baby is getting everything on the mother's chest. Because as you know, the most important thing when we talk about newborn is to maintain the temperature. They should not become cold. So here the mother keeping the small newborn baby in skin to skin with her chest, and she's being wrapped by a cloth. So she is the caregiver, and every other thing is happening in her place. And imagine we have a mother who is 24/7 with her baby, taking care of all the illness and informing the medical care if she suspects anything. So Here, there is a zero separation of babies and their caregivers so that prolonged, effective kangaroo mother care is given. We say, as per the latest evidence by WHO has also updated, and there was a global evidence which has come that when a mother care of this small and sick babies, the deaths which happen because of the newborn infection, they decreases by 25%. There is a better breastfeeding rates. The hospital discharge is early and the hospitalization duration decreases. So less economic burden also. So you can see this intervention which is being globally came as an evidence in 2021. And we have done we have come up with the revised guidelines. Last year, we have released in our training package, in our training guidelines also. And soon we will be coming with the operational guideline. So we would like that even in the PMJ also, if this concept of mother newborn care unit, currently in PMJY packages, there is a provision for mother bed as well as a mother food. But this unit as a whole, if can be included, then many of our private hospitals who are interested in getting this care done, they can be very well included. Because it talks about zero separation, it encourages the involvement of the family members in the care. How does it help? Actually, when the baby gets discharged, they are already trained how to take care of the sick babies, and that bonding has developed. So it is no more the only responsibility of the mother, rather than a family become the participation in the care of the baby. They carry out the clinical assessment. So simple things can be told to mother that if a pulse ox becomes less than 90, if how to take care, whether the baby is cold or normal temperature, if the baby is not taking feed. So simple things can be taught to them. They support, definitely it promotes early exclusive breastfeeding, and in integrated care, gynecologist also comes and take care of the mother if there are any issues, and we can educate about the infection prevention practices there and there only. So you can see the pictures. These are the pictures of a Safdarjung hospital in New Delhi. That was one of the sites in India where this study actually took place. And there is a inborn mother newborn care unit, as well as there is an outborn mother newborn care unit. So this is a picture of an outborn where you can say, so there is a kangaroo mother care chair also adjoining the bed. So this baby in fact is on ventilator, though in our guidelines we are talking about the secondary care. Here you can see this is the one unit. There is a warmer, the vision of oxygen and the panels. The baby is on CPAP and the mother looks so happy. This also takes care of the mental health of the mother because she does not have anxiety to be separated from her baby. So it definitely helps in the bonding, helps in the mental health of the mother, decreases the PPH as the mother is feeding well, even the small baby. Normally what happens, the mother is separated, the baby is separated, and there's a problem in actually having a lactation. So when the baby is on your chest, definitely physiologically, hormonally, scientifically, your breast milk is automatically better. So this is the structure. You can see there is a mother bed and this is a 12-bed unit. Coming to second intervention, the newly intervention, which we have again brought about in our guidelines, is the CPAP, continuous positive airway pressure. It is a type of non-invasive ventilation which has been given. So it's a type of oxygen therapy which we give to our premature babies who have difficulty in breathing at birth. Okay. So basically, this requires a little more infection control measures. Equipment management is required. We check whether the assessment, respiratory rate, and the oxygen saturation, and we see how the baby responds to the CPAP. And the CPAP therapy actually prevents the need for ventilation, and it shortens the hospital duration because it is a non-invasive ventilation. You give through oxygen prongs the airway pressure so that the baby's lungs are inflated and do not come back. Now coming to what training packages we are having, we have a newborn training package on Navjat Shishu Suraksha Karyakram, also called as NSSK, was the latest revised in 2020. It talks about the minimum care package which is required for primary care for all newborns at birth. So it talks about the things which I have talked about, that to routine care, but how to look for birth defects, what is the discharge advice. So for a baby, if a baby does not cry, how to give bag and mask. So it is a around 1.5 days training package which talks comprehensively about all newborn care is to be required. This is the newborn stabilization package where what all services needs to be given at the level of an FRU. That is a functional referral unit we have, where we have a 4-bedded unit. So like the joint therapy, low birth weight babies. This is the facility-based newborn care for the special newborn care units, like special newborn care units, and this now the mother newborn care unit has also been included here, that what all provisions are there, how to provide the care, all the annexures are there. And we conduct a 4 days training for all our special newborn care unit staff for in this training package. This is the Muskan, which talks about all the quality initiative which has to happen in the child care. As I told you, there are 4. So this is it talks about how to take care and what all criteria are there, what needs to be observed for the quality certification. So the states, they do their quality certification, they involve the SHSRC, then they apply for quality certification, and the national certification is given for the Muskan. As we are already told that this year, as we know, we are talking about the quality. We kept our theme of the National Newborn Week as optimizing antimicrobial use to prevent antimicrobial resistance in newborns. As you know, that newborns are most vulnerable, especially the low birth weight and premature. So they are actually very prone to develop the resistance. So optimizing, we are not saying do not use. If required, then needs to be used. So it has to be very important that the duration needs to be seen. For this, we have shared the guidance document with our state nodal officers across the state with a letter that what needs to be done at the level of the state. And as we can see in this, that right diagnosis guides the right treatment. So having the right diagnosis, like we have the protocols that you need to have a blood culture or a CRP. So use and always judge with the clinical acumen. If the child is coming with hypothermia or less sugar, it might not be because of infection. So if the culture comes negative, the antibiotic needs to be stopped. So use in a right way as per the protocols. And every dose counts. So right drug in the right dose or the right time duration is actually very important. And definitely the much more important with respect to newborn is the infection control practices. Proper hand washing before and after touching the patient, use of hand rub in the critical care units, disinfection of the floor and the wall. There is a protocol checklist needs to be there, and proper sterilization of the equipment through CSSD or using disinfectants available. It's really important. And no one actually can defy the importance of hand hygiene. We all have seen, even in the pandemic also, that whether it is respiratory illness or diarrhea, whatever you talk about, hand hygiene is the first line of defense. So we need to ensure that not only the parents, the mothers, but even as a healthcare provider, we are pledged that we will clean hands before and after each patient contact so as not to at least give the nosocomial infection. And actually together we all can ensure that there is a healthy beginning for every newborn, which can lead to healthy survival. Thank you so much. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shobna. It was very interesting and a very elaborate presentation which talks about everything in covering the entire RBSK and child at the CH program, Child Health and RBSK program. It was very interesting. So now, can you see the chat box with you? There are certain questions which are already there. So they said, what are the indicators for admission in NICU? And here, every newborn is admitted to NICU. Can you read it out?
Let me see. Or if you can ask, I can just keep on answering if you can see which all are there, because
what are the indicators for admission to an ICU?
Okay.
Here, so, every newborn is admitted to NICU.
See, special newborn care unit, which provide the secondary layer of services, it is not for every newborn. Let me tell about the every newborn. If a baby is born healthy, that is, baby is more than 1800 grams, baby cried at birth, and the vitals are normal. So normally the baby are being shifted to the mother in the postnatal care ward, where the simple postnatal routine care is given. With this, the baby started on breastfeed. The simple eye care that you have to just wipe the eyes. There is no from the cord, nothing to be applied on the cord. breastfeeding is initiated, and the baby, there is no jaundice. So these babies have to be kept as per national guidelines 48 hours in the hospital, and then they are discharged after 48 hours. Now coming to the babies who need the admission, if a baby is less than 1800 grams, baby has some respiratory distress, some signs of infections like hypothermia. So less than 1800 grams again can be, it could be 800 gram or 1000 gram or 1200 gram. So less than 1800 grams, problem in the breathing, baby does not cry at birth. You have to give a bag and mask. Our baby is a major malformation. These are the indications in which case, or a clinician find the baby looks sick. These are the indications where the baby is admitted in the special newborn care unit. If we talk about newborn stabilization unit, it is 1500 to 1800. They go to newborn stabilization, see with a mild respiratory distress or a jaundice.
One more
I hope
thing,
I'm
people
clear.
are asking, can we have the metabolic screening money? I mean, they're saying ki kindly allot funds for metabolic screening program. So, I mean, as you told ki that for sickle cell screening, it is going there. Is it going from child health or it is going from NHM?
It is going through sickle cell, because sickle cell itself is a totally
Sickle cell program, right?
yes, but sickle cell elimination programs,
So
it is
in
there in the
the
17 states. They give for
that
therapy.
that
Yeah,
so
they give
people are
for
here from they are more interested because what is happening when we talk about sickle cell, you also told that metabolic programs have like thalassemia is also there. Yesterday there was a meeting and they said ki now it is important that we have thalassemia screening in the in newborns. I mean we have 30 screening which is done under RBSK as I understand, and this thalassemia and sickle was complementary when we came up in blood cell and say that now it is the time that we should take it. So is thalassemia a complementary screening still, or it is a compulsory screening? That's one
regarding
question.
thalassemia. Thalassemia was optional only, but the talks are going on to include the thalassemia screening actually from the red cell also. So there is a group, so they are working on that to include the thalassemia. And for the metabolic also, see all the metabolic screening, we are going phase wise for metabolic. We are including few diseases like which have a more high prevalence. So we are right now thinking of having congenital hypothyroidism. So we need to see for availability of the funds, and we will go phase wise. But thalassemia, it is already being thought about, and there is a work has started about that.
So that's
But
great, but what about the
implementation would
DIC?
take
Whether we have at DEIC, whether we have enough trained manpower to take care of metabolic disorders? DIC team.
DIC won't be able to take about, see, the role of DIC is mainly for the developmental delay and the birth defects. For the metabolic, you require actually specialized services. So you require the medical college services with a pediatrician who is working in these, who is trained in this metabolic screening, or the genetist. So definitely that is a challenge right now, if you can see, because DIC has to have one pediatrician, medical officer, and other allied, which are mostly technical staff like a physiotherapist, occupational therapist. So definitely that linkage with the medical college becomes very important, and their role becomes very important, the INIs. Like the
I
AIMS.
was little bit yesterday when we developed the sickle cell program. Why I'm asking you, because there are certain questions which are saying when we developed sickle cell program, we said that hydroxyurea is going to be provided at PSC level. Now hydroxyurea, as you know, is very difficult to give, right? It's not. So, but SOPs were drafted and they said now it will be available. Here, where you say it's very correct that these children has to be taken proper care. So my only concern and request to you is that when we talk about metabolic disorders, here when we are providing the medicines at the PSC, that is Ayushman Arogya Mandir, and at the CSC level also, but the monitoring is equally important. And here we are not able to, because we don't have much of the we cannot say that our Ayushman Arogya Mandir doesn't have a pediatrician over there. We have only CHOs with us. So that is a concern which we keep on finding those things. My only concern is either this needs to be while sickle cell mission has already come in, other metabolic disorders are also coming in, and we need to have very good, because you guys are there and you are very well versed with birth defects. You understand. So my only and humble submission is that let's make a small plan that how this can be taken up. I mean, there are certain queries which I think people will like to ask you. Is Dr. Yes, Dr. Arora, can you tell, you want to say something? Unmute your own phone. Dr. Arora wants to say something.
See, as you said, this hydroxyurea, because though it is given very frequently, but it needs strict monitoring. Because if cytopenia occurs, and mostly in our practice also, we see the patients keep on taking the medicine without going for investigations. So that should be the a part of the SOPs to monitor the drug. That's there.
That is,
And one thing more, just one thing. In the one slide, I noticed that newborn screening in the thalassemia. How you will do newborn screening the thalassemia?
how are we doing it? Newborn screening in thalassemia.
No, we are right now not doing, but they were telling there is a in this meeting also, because that was my question also. They're saying a single blood DBS is coming in that, because I was not aware, so I have not attended that meeting. But because the best part is actually is to target the mothers, antenatal mothers would be.
Yes,
Okay,
true.
but you say when you say
But for
screening-
newborn, they told me, I think which state, they informed me. I've yet to see,
Gujarat.
because we have not yet started, but they told me that I think Uttarakhand or some, they have tested for one spot. I'm not aware of that right now, because my question was also
Okay.
that how to test, but they said that it is coming.
Okay.
We'll
So
check.
now
With the red blood
So
cell, we'll check.
that's the point that we, I mean, it is a request from the states and people to send us some play. I mean, you can write it in the chat box. We can always ask the Child Health Division. We can also ask the PMJY. I mean, because here at NHA, we can take up, as she said, we need to take up these issues. That's very important. I mean, convergence between the ministries department is very important. So now the here one more important thing was public-private partnership, which I understood from the presentation. So this public-private partnership can be taken up. I mean, wherever we are not having enough resources, the private people can impanel, or they can have this MOU done, and the things can be taken up. So all these facilities are coming from the government side, and we have come very far. We see the mortality rate has reduced down. Still in there, it is there, but we are trying to improve in a very better manner. And Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, where all divisions of it are, we're trying very hard to achieve the targets, that there is no newborn with the congenital defects or any defects. That's a concern. And those who are born also, we are taking proper management of it. So if we talk about PMJY, this basically cards also, and with the facilities, you can see that there are packages about it where you can take it up. And that talks about thalassemia and sickle as well. So these things are very important. And Dr. Shobna, can we share your presentation with the people across the state? They want to know about your presentation. So please send me the presentation, because
We will
it
share.
will be helpful. Yes, and we will share with all the states, because people want to know about it, what exactly our program. Though we are trying to train our people, but maximum way we can reach up. We can see the PSC, CSC people are also there. So they are joining us, and this will be a very it's good to learn, and it's very heartening to know that people are interested into this. Dr. Arora and you, everybody who is here, you can write your basically inputs into this. You can directly send to Shobna ji also, because we just write her mail ID. It will be helpful. You can write to her also directly, and there she can take up the matter. She has that, I mean, she has taken up so many things in the ministry itself, so she can take up these matters and can put up in the proper manner, and also converge with us for getting the PMJY packages as well. So both ways she will be able to help us. So my only concern is we are just writing her mail ID. Just connect with her, just write it to her, and and copy it to us, so that we can at least sit together and do the needful. That's very important. Any other question which comes up?
Any other queries from the participant side, they may write in the chat box, or if feedback form has been shared in the chat box, in that feedback form, you may write in that feedback form about the queries. We can give to the concerned ministries or divisions.
Feedback forms, you can write the queries, whatever queries you have, we will share with Dr. Shobna Gupta over there. We'll share with the ministry, whatever the issues are there. These trainings are meant to know the problems, whatever you are facing and whatever the challenges you are facing at the state level or at your level. It is just to help you out, and different states can always take up these things. There's a feedback form, write your queries, so it will be sent to her, it will be sent to our divisions, where whatever is required, it will be done. So her mail ID is there. I think Nand is typing. The mail ID is there. Vikram Kataria has already written the mail ID, shobna.gupta@gov.in. So you can see that this mail ID is already there, and you can write on this mails also. So maybe Vikram, you can also write your mail ID, so it can be copied to you to help.
Vishal is there.
Vishal. Oh, yeah, Vishal Kataria. You can also write your mail ID, so it will be helpful that two people, because once she can see or you can see, and you can brief her. So that will be better. So any other queries which are there?
Any other queries from the participant side, they may raise their hands or they can write in the chat box, including their states and their queries and their mail IDs. So hope there is no queries about this. So thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for enlightening towards such a beautiful session towards newborn care, and hope the India can achieve the SDG goals in 2030, what has been decided. So thank you so much for giving such a giving a valuable time, and thank you each and every participants by giving their time and everything. And thank you so much, Dr. Vinita ma'am, for being here from NHA. So thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
connect-
nice day.
And we will connect soon. We'll connect soon. Thank you.